What's good everyone, yadiiiigg, 4 Eyes, 2Gs here, and today we're here to talk about a few artists who across 2019 didn't fare too well, and between their songs or albums or what have you just really didn't do anything and actually regressed. So let's get into it.
I fish piranha, I rock designer, I fuck your mama, I get the commas, fuck the drama, they hate Orama, you niggas a trauma and my bitch stay finer. Yeah, I'm hot like a fire, I go off like a timer. If she fine, I'ma find a bitch, I ball 49er. We spark up like a liar, you a pussy, you a cry, you straight, not a liner, I go off, I'm on fire.
And firstly, we get to famous Dex, and it's been a slow but steady fall from grace for Dex since the highs of Pick It Up and Japan that put him into the mainstream consciousness. Thinking back to 2015, 16 and 17, Dex was constantly blessing us and has countless SoundCloud gems that I still go back to today. But his music nowadays just isn't the same. It's well documented the negative effect that drugs have played in his life, and in my opinion they've led to his music losing that edge and that spark that made Dex Dex. His label has tried to kickstart his wave again a couple times now with a slew of singles, but they've all pretty much flopped, and at this point it seems that his next album rollout is in limbo and his label is a bit confused as what to do. For Dex's sake, I hope he's able to come back much stronger in 2020, but unfortunately right now it's not looking good. After Dex we move on to young bands, and I want to preface this by saying I do think people overreacted and overhated on young bands with Misunderstood. It was a solid album and I've actually got a video written about this very topic, but if I'm being honest, in terms of what the label invested into the album and the platform that they were trying to get bands onto, he did kind of flop. The album had a feature list that was big name after big name. It also had an impressive producer lineup, and as well as this, there was a lot of promotion around it being his debut album. But frankly, it just didn't perform well. Not in the first week where it put up average numbers, and as well as this, it was poised to be his magnum opus, the project that was meant to take him to the mainstream, but it definitely didn't do that, and at this point, it's safe to say that it just kind of came and went. Although I do think songs like Prada Zombie really showed a lot of potential and deserved to be way bigger than they were, unfortunately, it just didn't happen. And after bands we get to Lil Pump, and Pump's quote-unquote fall-off has been well spoken about at this point. And I do think the redundancy and the overexposure of his music, his brand, his antics, and just Pump in general has led to the point where people are just kind of sick of seeing him. I don't think it's quite over for Pump yet, but Harvard Dropout definitely didn't reach expectations and definitely kind of flopped. With 3 singles released from it, they all flopped commercially, with none of them getting certified, and the album as a whole really didn't gain much traction. It did okay streams wise, but selling less than 50k first week for someone of Pump's stature is not a good look. I Love It pretty much single-handedly saved the album from completely flopping, and that came out in the year before. The label tried to salvage something together and bounced back quickly with a new single, Post to Do with French Montana and Quavo in July, but this song was just so average and sounded just as generic as you would imagine a Pump, French and Quavo song would sound, and literally did nothing. Pump is definitely on a downward trajectory, and it will be interesting to see what his label tries to do with him to get him back up in 2020. And before we go on guys, a quick shout out from my Instagram. Big shout outs goes to wale.qd. Appreciate you showing love. If you guys haven't yet, do make sure to follow me on Instagram at yadiiiigg. Appreciate your love and support. Also a reminder about my merch. We have the Cardi and Travis merch tees on deck. They're fire. Links in the description to cop if you're interested. Also all the standard YouTube stuff. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn on those notifications as well. You guys know the go, but let's get back to it. And moving on, we get to Chance the Rapper with Big Day, another well-documented, well-publicized, absolute train wreck of a rollout of an album that not only flopped commercially, critically, but also in terms of reception from the fans as well, culminating in the sobering lack of interest in his headlining tour, forcing him to cancel the tour. At this stage, Chance just needs to take the L, lay low, and come back with better music in 2020, and nothing else needs to be said. Lastly though, we get to Big Sean, and talking about flops and false starts, this one was clear as day. To understand why, you need to place the rest of Sean's career in context. He has always come into an album with a hit. Every album of his has had multiple certified hits, excluding the Metro collab album that completely tanked. But this time around, it's a different story. They've tried 3 different singles now, and despite them putting in a lot of effort to roll them out and promote them, they've all flopped, and it seems like the rollout of the the album has been halted because of these flops, and the album is in limbo with no release date as of right now. I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes they've got no intention to release the album anytime soon. They're probably just going to regroup, take it slow, and start the rollout fresh with at least one new single, because there is no way that they should expect Sean to drop an album right now and do good first week sales. Just remember how bad Double or Nothing with Metro flopped, and that should tell you right there. But that's all from me today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe as well, turn on notifications, and there are more videos of mine on screen right now. Do make sure to check them out if you haven't.